Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live here via the International Public Radio on the United Public Radio Network 107.7 and 105.3 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. This evening's segment is partially sponsored by the good folks over at Folgers Coffee. So thank you, Folgers. We love you infinitely. There we go, right there. So tonight we welcome Darcy Weir, Shane Corson, and David Ellis to the show, and we will be discussing their documentary Sasquatch Among Wild Men. And we have recordings. Yeah, we do. They sent over recordings. It's going to be one of those shows. Mm-hmm. Anyway, in order to participate in tonight's show, you're going to have to head over to at least 8 different places. I think we've got Twitter. I think we've got Twitch. I think we've got at least 3 different Facebook platforms that are network platforms. And of course, United Public Radio and UFO Paranormal Radio Network YouTube pages. So subscribe. And if you want to directly communicate with us, the best place to do that is UFO Paranormal Radio Network. If you don't mind if we respond right away, and we will be able to see your comments, just sit tight. Any of the other platforms will do. So sit tight. Get yourselves ready for an awesome segment. Cannot wait. That'll be a good one.
My fault. Yep, my bad.
What'd you do now?
I pressed play by accident instead of chat.
Oh, I see. Sorry. Okay.
The only place that I can interact with you guys is if you're in YouTube. Okay.
I'm gonna go and accept this. So
yes, we have a long intro. So I'm gonna start, and forgive me for not looking into the camera because this is a big one and it's written down. Tonight we have 3 special guests. We have Darcy Weir, we have David W. Ellis, and Shane Corson, not the hockey player. This guy's amazing. We're going to start with Darcy Weir. We've had him on before. He is a young filmmaker who recently completed a new documentary based on the theory that relic hominids like Sasquatch live in deep wilderness all around the world, uncovering some interesting connections between sightings in China, Russia, and the United States. David W. Ellis is a Washington State native and has followed the Bigfoot phenomena since 1963. Took his interest to the field in 2006 and joined the Olympic Project with Derek Randles in 2010. Shane Corson is a native of Scotland, having an interest in cryptids since his youth, actively investigating since 1997. And in 2003, fate brought him into Oregon, where he dove first into the subject of Bigfoot with his own sighting in 2011. Sighting in the Mount Hood National Forest served to deepen the passion of his pursuit. No kidding. Mm-hmm. A proud core member of the Olympic Project and co-host for Monster X Radio podcast. Please welcome to our show. Welcome back, Darcy Weir, David W. Ellis, and Shane Corson. That's a lot.
It's like a tongue twister. Try to say it like 3 times.
3 of them, yes.
I know. Well, hopefully Joe can bring them in. Hopefully they all got their links and everybody's is going to be like on time. And
I hope
this would be a good thing. I know. Pretty sure I specified like Eastern time. Oh boy, I know. Should just double check that.
They're all in the U.S., right?
Yes.
Okay. In the meantime, we'll just chitty chatter here. I
think so.
I don't see any of my friends in YouTube. I hope they weren't. We're running late tonight.
We are running late.
Joe's
not
fault.
Our fault, of course. We're the
always
good
Joe's
kids.
Fault.
Right.
Yeah, always.
So, but Bigfoot. You know what? This property that the family has, like a few hours away. Funny story. So there's a caretaker on the property. And all of a sudden, he starts hearing tree tapping at like 5 a.m. So I'm like, well, maybe somebody's an early bird out there in the wilderness and just cutting, just like axing trees or something. He goes, well, usually it's not like once every, minute for like 20 straight minutes. I think he said like 23 minutes or something. I'm just like, no, that would take a while. So he's like, well, I wouldn't mind. I really wouldn't mind. If I encountered one of these, I'm like, oh, sure. Let's just say that would be a good idea.
I wouldn't mind. You don't hear that too often. I would not want to encounter. I would like to see it, like peek at one from a distance.
Right.
I'd love to have a sighting, have an experience because they're so elusive, but I don't think I'd want to come head to head with anything. So
it's
sorry.
It's really hit and miss, like I've read stories, like there's a lot of people who think they're really aggressive and violent. I've heard stories. I'm anxious to hear these guys on this tonight, but there's other stories where people befriend them and they'll leave food out for them and they'll come in and they'll eat the food left, like, vegetables or fruit. Yeah. And in one case, they would come as a family. There was like 3 or 4 of them that would come in.
How is it that we don't have videotape out there of this?
That's just it. Like you hear so much.
Yeah, it's a problem for me.
I would have cameras on the property. Like, needless to say, the other property is getting cameras like freaking everywhere because I'm like, freaking heck with that.
You want to see it. Yeah, you want to see it. You want to capture something like that. I
want to even hear the tree tapping. So the experts in the field, like, okay, what is this? Because there's like 400 acres.
They're known for that, right? So I see. I know it's terrible for me to say this. I need to have proof because that's terrible because I talk to dead people. So, I'm constantly reminded about what I do so I try not to. I honestly believe in anything out there. We do not know enough about our world to know what's real and what's not and why certain people can see things and others can't. So I have a great amount of respect for people when they talk about their sightings and everything. I just personally would love to see some video, not to prove it, but because I want to see it and I want it to come from a credible source. So this is going to be an interesting show.
They're apparently out there. I think it's just a matter of perception. I think it really is a matter of, are you looking at something like pareidolia? Video is kind of cool because you see some things that look like, it looks like it could definitely be real. And I mean, these guys have gone full on, like recording, filming, talking to a lot of like credible eyewitnesses. And I'm thinking, okay, I've talked to a lot of, who I deem to be credible eyewitnesses. I mean, there were a couple that were just friends of our families or kids' families, and just sort of catching some stories. And it's a lot of the typical stuff, the smell, the tree tapping, like to pitch rocks at you.
Right.
And I had to tell Rob, best be careful. Okay, don't put anything on till our guests get here. Just saying. Thank you.
Especially Joe, I hate when you do that.
Especially that.
I hate when he does that. I hate when he does that. He zooms in so close. It's like your license photograph, right? Like really, you don't need to be this close to this 52-year-old face.
I look like a mugshot.
Oh yes, yes. I don't have a makeup artist here. I don't have a hairstylist.
I know. You need to
keep it at a distance, Jojo. Oh, Joe, I'm gonna look down. I'm not gonna look straight.
I know. I'm already just letting Darcy know that we've been waiting for you. Let's go. So
I have a funny feeling there could be a bit of a mix-up with time zones, and that will be. If we can't get a hold of him, he's going to have an hour. I'm
messaging. Oh, believe me, I can carry on about Bigfoot for quite some time. So,
can I tell you something funny? Squirrel moment. Can I tell you something funny?
Do it. I'm just typing.
I saw this meme today. I don't know if any of you out there have seen this because I was just looking up different things about Bigfoot and I was on the floor laughing. It said, this is the reason why there are no more Bigfoot sightings, and everybody's like this. And Bigfoot's in the background and everybody's like this on their phone.
I can see that. I can see that. It happens all the time. Okay, I've just messaged everybody. Say, okay, it's this time zone. We're waiting. Yeah, like Eddie the Yeti. That's right. When you cheapers, honestly.
I have a Yeti in my closet. I'm not getting up though because Joel zoom in when I'm getting up.
My dad bought that for me years ago. I was like, he got me a freaking stuffed Sasquatch. I like that.
That was from a charity event. I didn't have anything to do with it. I mean, someone gave it to me. I didn't have anything to do with the charity. found out about it afterwards.
Right.
Oh, you're such an asshole. I'm going to send you pictures of pizza and all kinds of stuff while you're trying to diet. Just saying.
I know. Oh my gosh.
She's beautiful.
So stop it. I know. He's just farting around while we're waiting for our guests. But I don't know. I'm really hoping that, when they set these cameras up on this property, that we're going to start capturing things. Because
wouldn't
honestly,
that be interesting?
Yeah. Oh, well, there's guest number one. Yay. And number two. All right.
It'd be interesting to have a name like
Darcy's. He's being a diva. I don't know what he's doing.
My daughter is a PR agent with the NHL, and I said to her, I've got Shane Corson on the show tonight. She's like, what?
Yeah, I'm not quite that famous.
He's one of her clients. Well, he's one of her clients, so I was just teasing her, right?
It's funny when you Google our names. He comes up first, obviously, being a hockey player.
He's a really nice guy. Yeah,
he's into Bigfoot, and then they got to do a little more search and realize no, he's not.
Oh, we'll let him know. We'll let him know about that. I'll tell her to tell him because that is funny.
Oh my god.
Anyways, I just thought it was cute because you must hear that a lot, right?
I do. He's got a Y in his name, and I have I don't have a Y, just an A.
Yeah. And his brother-in-law is Darcy Tucker. So.
Another Darcy.
Well, hopefully he's not a slacker like this Darcy.
What the hell, right? Like I messaged him, we are waiting for you. But it's his third time on, so he's probably thinking he's going to get a little bit of a pass there. But
he's Canadian.
Okay.
He's Canadian.
We're all really relaxed.
Yeah, so are we, but it doesn't mean we're that relaxed. Not a half
we're
hour.
We're pretty
relaxed.
laid back, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, so. Not 30 minutes relaxed.
I know, but that's okay. We'll just catch him up when he gets here because honestly, I don't know what he's doing. But so, okay, you guys are working on a film together. How did you all come together? We'll give you guys the opportunity to tell your part of the story before he comes on.
Go ahead, Shane.
It's very open. This is like real round table. Just jump in there, have some fun. It's not like drill sergeant interview.
No, not at all.
Oh, good. Well, Darcy Weir is a filmmaker, obviously, and he's been doing a number of films on Sasquatch. He did the Unwanted film on Sasquatch with Dr. Meldrum, I think 2016 or 17. And he does, other UFO related stuff, films. And he got interested in Sasquatch phenomena because of Dr. Meldrum, some stuff he heard from Dr. Meldrum. And he Darcy Weir decided to come down from Canada out here to Washington State and visit some of the symposiums that we attend, that we speak at, some of these conferences. And so he heard one of my particular lectures on some stuff we were working on, and he got really interested. And then, fast forward about a year later, he came back to another one, and he asked me if I'd be willing to, jump on and speak with him, and, reach out to David Ellis and Derek Randalls of the Olympic Project. And again, Dr. Meldrum out of Idaho State University. And that's how we kind of met. He was just really enthused by some of the stuff we were sharing, we were talking about. And, he thought there's something more to this. And I got to look into it a little bit further and get the Olympic Project involved. And Darcy's he's a great guy. He's a wonderful documentarian, great all-around guy. And I was really happy with the end production.
Fantastic. Well, it seems to be getting really good reviews on Amazon. So, David, stage is yours.
Okay. It was fun meeting Darcy at a conference that we had done a presentation at. Both Shane and I and a few others had done some presenting, and Darcy kind of zeroed in on what we were talking about, which was something nobody talks about, and that's the finding of some nests. And we'll get into that a little bit deeper. But that is an oddity, and especially the number of nests that we discovered as time went along. And then Darcy also was intrigued by some of the audio that I've collected over the years. I've been personally recording in the field since 2007. And I'm talking thousands of hours. And Along the way, you meet other what I'll call audiophiles in the Bigfoot community, and I've rubbed shoulders with quite a few folks. And one of them that I really enjoyed working with is a gentleman that goes by the name of Monongahela, and he's a crypto linguist, if that means anything to you, which is it's typically you'll learn about the cryptolinguist. The study of a cryptolinguist is taught through the military, and he was able to understand what people were saying via listening. Well, and as time went along, working with him, we discovered that there is another method, and it's actually visualization. It's visualizing software that turns the audio into what's called a spectrogram. And from a spectrogram, it's like a fingerprint, if you will.
Right.
You can really get a lot of detail out of it. It's not up and down spikes like you see in typical waveform audio.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually pick out characters, who's who in the zoo, if you will. Yeah. So it's really been a kind of a godsend, because it also helps in analyzing the audio. It takes a real short amount of time to go through a lot of audio, because you're doing it visually. You're taking visual cues rather than audio cues. Okay. So Darcy zeroed in on some of what I was talking about and wanted to expand upon that. And he had a really good vision of talking about this isn't just something that happens in the Pacific Northwest, it's all over the world. And right. I see Darcy has joined us. He can expound on that.
Yeah, producer finally let him in. Has nothing to do with us. We keep telling him, come on.
You got to unmute yourself, Darcy.
Hey,
oh, there.
I'm here.
How are
Hello,
you?
Welcome.
The guys were just telling us about how you all came together. So we thought it would be a good way to start. So, very fascinating. So you basically hooked up with these guys because of the research and decided you're going to do a film.
Yeah. These guys are boots on the ground researchers. They've been doing their thing for many, many years. And I just kind of came along as an outsider and saw their story and thought, people need to know about this. People should understand that there's something going on, not only in the forests of the Olympic National Park, but there's a new sort of element to this research, which is possible nest sites. And that's something I really hadn't come across before. It was news to me, and I found it very exciting. What also was equally exciting to me was the fact that these gentlemen were researching this and providing all this data on these nest sites that they had found in North America. But I had also done some research and found that there was some researchers in Asia that had found nest sites for what they call the Yeren. And the Yeren is basically, by all accounts, the same cryptid. It's 8 to 10 feet tall, covered with fur from head to toe, looks like an ape-like man. And there's stories of this thing existing and living alongside mankind in China and parts of Asia for thousands of years. And we have the same sort of story that's happening in North America with our indigenous tribes, with the Native Americans and Native Canadians that have written about this or passed down through oral tradition and in some of the tribes' totem poles their own version of this creature, Zunaqua or Skookum or, Sasket, which is the word that Sasquatch came from in British Columbia. So nest sites being found here in North America, and then hair samples being found at these nesting sites by Shane and his team. It was really, really interesting to me. So I started bothering Shane basically via WhatsApp. I was saying, hey, man, do you mind if I interview you on camera? I'd love to include you in this documentary. And he said, yeah, all right, okay, we'll see. And I kind of just went from there. And I ended up bothering David, and David didn't mind a little bit of bothering as well. He ended up sharing with me some of his collection of audio, which is vocalizations and interactions via wood knocks and such that he's collected from his own investigations, his own boots on the ground research in the Olympic National Park area and other parts of the United States. But he also gets sent a ton of this stuff. And Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum, whenever he gets sent some kind of vocalization stuff, he sends it to David and other researchers that have a affinity to researching this type of data, that have the type of technology, the type of ear to focus in and rule out whether this was a chicken. Recently, David might laugh because there was a guy, he knows what I'm talking about.
Is it that close?
Yeah, Gurr.
Well, apparently chickens can make some weird noise, but
That's hilarious.
I was sent an email. Somebody watched the documentary and said, hey, loved your documentary. I love your research. I heard, on a radio or something like that. And I've got a noise here that I've recorded in my, part of the country. Would you mind investigating it? And I was like, I'm a filmmaker at first. Secondly, would be, a researcher of vocalizations or any kind of audio. So I said, I'm going to pass this to somebody who actually knows this stuff really well. And I passed it on to David and, CC'd in this individual, and David ruled it to be pretty much chicken. And
That's amazing.
yeah.
You're kidding.
This guy was
Can't
pretty
imagine.
upset. He said, that's not a chicken. And, he got his back up a bit, but what can you say? The audio doctor went to work and he figured it out, and I'm happy
A
for
chicken. Who
Darcy,
knew?
Can I
Yeah.
just, sorry for a second, can I get you to raise your mic level just a little bit if you can?
Sure.
It's just a little low. Thanks.
No problem. I'm going
Thank
to
you.
boost it up. Boom. How's that sound?
Perfect.
Oh, much
Perfect.
better.
Much
Am I
better.
a little
Thank
bit
you.
too loud, or here?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Perfect.
It's all
Okay.
good. Yeah.
All right.
So okay. So let's talk nests. I was just explaining earlier that our family has a 400-acre property, and the caretaker has recently been hearing these tapping sounds at 5 a.m., like one every minute. And he's part indigenous. Like, yeah, I was waiting for this. I'm like, but he's also got a chicken. So I don't think the chicken did any tapping, but he didn't hear any sounds. But I just said, okay, we're just going to load the property up with cameras, because that one was quite curious. I'm thinking, maybe just somebody out there being really overzealous and cutting wood. He goes, once every minute. And it was getting closer and closer and closer. See, there hadn't been a caretaker on the property to that point, really. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh, but there are also caves and rivers and a lake on the property also.
Michelle,
Yes.
don't be surprised if your activity ceases.
Oh, really?
No, really?
Yeah. Just for fun. I'm not telling you don't put the cameras out. Put the cameras out, but
Right.
when you do, watch it and see if activity doesn't completely stop.
No
Okay.
way. Are they
Well,
aware of it?
interesting.
Is that why?
We don't know. What do you say, Shane?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shane, what do you
It's
say?
a
I want to know more.
It's a
Yeah.
conundrum. There isn't much of an explanation other than
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So note to self, don't do the cameras. That's crazy.
Well, maybe you do want the cameras. Maybe you don't want the activity.
He
So
seems to want
no,
it.
we
I'm like,
want
well,
the
you're the guy that's got to live up there right now, by yourself, man. You want to just, have a couple of Sasquatch compadres. That's entirely up to you, whatever. And he has, the caves are out on the property somewhere. I don't think he's even found the caves yet, but which brings me to the questions of nests. Are they in places like caves? I don't know how big these things are, how small. I haven't personally seen them.
I'd be afraid to go in that cave right now.
Oh no, he'll be just like waddling in there.
Yeah, and then you don't hear from him for like months.
I know. I have to tell my son, sorry about the caretaker. I don't know what happened. I sent him off on a little mission.
MIA, blame it on the ET.
Okay, that can work too. It's near Algonquin Park, actually, in Ontario here, which is 20,000 square kilometers, and the 400 acres is probably within about a kilometer of there.
Yeah, it's substantial. That must be an absolutely amazing piece of property.
It's pretty amazing, I have to say. But it's one of those Armageddon properties. You just can disappear in it, and then you've got 20,000 acres of complete, national park besides that. But there's a lot of stories that circulate around there, Bigfoot being one of them, extraterrestrials being another. But it's pretty desolate, especially with the pandemic that's been going on. Nobody's been up there. These things are probably just like, yeah, finally. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, the game camera thing, it's you put these cameras out there and it's like the activity stops or moves to a different area. But if you're creative with your cameras, I think if you're really, really creative, you never know. What I like to do personally, because cameras, basically people, the thought process is that they either get off noise, Sasquatch can see the IR, or they just see this weird square shape.
That's true.
This weird square shape on a tree. It's like, it's always mentioned on these shows.
That's
but
true.
You walk into your room and someone put up a picture on the wall that you don't recognize. You're like, what is that doing there? Yeah, you'd know. So that sort of thing. So when I put cameras out, I don't put them with the straps. I put them in stumps and stuff like that. And what I really like to do, based on historical reports, is actually place the cameras next to riverbeds, creeks, and that such. Something with running water. Something with running water, because it'll mask some of the scent and it'll mask some of the noise that's coming off, being emitting. Yeah. And if you look at a lot of the reports over the eons, where Sasquatch has been surprised, like somebody's walking along a river fishing and there's a Sasquatch, and the Sasquatch looks up like, what the? Or the person's doing something and the Sasquatch walks up. There's a surprise element there. And I think it's got everything to do with the noise and the smells coming off the river. And that'd be the perfect spot to put a trail camera, in my opinion. And your property sounds just right up there.
A cave that's got a river, and then it's got even the lake is mapped. It's a fair size. So
yeah, it's dense forest too.
Oh yeah, it's really, really dense. But it's also got a trail. It's been purposely, a road has been put in through a good chunk of it too. So from what he was saying, the tapping sounds were fairly close, enough to wake him up. And the rooster, apparently, is a rooster on the property. It's all the way to the rooster.
Darn chickens again.
The chicken and the freaking rooster.
It's coming back. It's coming back.
I know. When the rooster's all excited and getting going,
sure
I'm
the
thinking,
rooster's not tapping that tree?
I'll be a little close, but who knows? I don't know. But I find it interesting that he said it was getting closer, and where the little homestead is close to the lake. So I'm like, okay, well, anything's possible, I suppose. But that's why I was asking about nesting, because he says, I don't want to disturb anything. If there's something there, he's very respectful. He goes, I'm really okay with it being there, and I don't want to disturb it. I don't want to walk into its space. What should I be looking for? And what should or shouldn't I do? And I thought, I think I know who to ask about this. So I'm asking.
Well, with the nests specifically, these nests that were discovered back in 2016 by a timber surveyor.
Wow. And
this timber surveyor was way off trail. This guy goes out and marks timber areas, lots to be logged. And he was hiking along this area next to a creek, and he had to stay a certain distance away from this river. And so he kind of is walking his line and he's marking it. And this guy's been doing this for 27 years. He's very well experienced. He's run into bear, cougar, you name it, he's seen it. And as he's going along, and it's a very remote area, it's a very dense, very thick area. The huckleberry in this area can be over 9 feet tall. You sometimes you can't see. Yeah, it's just gigantic, and you can't see a few feet in front of you. So you never know what you're going to bump into out there. You got to be careful. And as he's going down, he's hiking, and it's rough terrain. You know, a lot of times you're crawling. You can't just walk through this stuff. You're crawling, you're jumping over stuff, you're falling down. And he gets up on this finger. So basically, he's below this ridge line, and he's walking on a plateau that feeds off of this ridge. And he comes across a couple of these ground nests, and basically they're anywhere from about 3 feet to 4 feet across to 9 feet across, all made out of huckleberry over a foot in depth. And this guy's looking at just a couple of them, because to date we've discovered 23 or 24 now.
Wow.
And so, in this one general area. So there's a lot of them, and a lot of them are massive. Like I said, over a foot in depth from the huckleberry. Anyways, this guy, this timber surveyor, is looking at these ground nests, going, "What the heck am I looking at here?" He's never seen anything like this, and he gets a little weirded out. So he hikes out, and he was pondering the whole thing, like, what did I see? What did I look at? And they were still green. So they were fairly fresh nests, because the huckleberry after a couple months will start to, die and not be as green. They'll brown up. And he remembered that a gentleman by the name of Derek Randalls, who's one of the Olympic Project founders, had done some work for this guy, had done some work for him as a landscaper, which is Derek's trade. And he knew that Derek Randalls, who's been on a ton of documentaries and been involved with the Sasquatch phenomena for many, many years, like 30 years, he said, I wonder if Derek, as not just as a landscaper, but also as a hiker, a guide, he runs a guide service, and as in the Bigfoot, if he's ever seen anything like this. So he invited Derek Randalls and another Olympic Project member by the name of James Milling out to this area, including 2 DNR, the Department of Natural Resources, and one of the owners of the property out there. And they all went out to this location and viewed these ground nests, and none of them, over 250 years worth of woodsman's experience in hiking in these areas and working in these areas, had ever seen anything like this. And so they knew it was something very profound. Nobody knew what was doing it. But they knew that this wasn't typical behavior of any known North American animal, let alone any animal, based on the size of the nest and the construction of the nest. So they basically handed the Olympic Project, Derek Randalls, myself, David Ellison, and our group, a key to the gate, because it's behind a locked gate, 2.5 miles behind a locked gate and way off trail. They gave us a key for 5 years just to study this area because they were so enthralled with it.
Wow.
And, nice.
That's what we've been up to. So if you're, if this groundskeeper, whatever, to find nests, I really do believe they're going to be off trail. These aren't areas where people go hiking, fishing, exploring. They're rugged, nasty areas, and that's where you're going to find these nests.
There's nobody on the property for miles.
No, There you go. Yeah, so you're going to probably find them above some sort of water source on a higher elevation, because I think Sasquatch is all about the higher elevation. It makes a lot of sense. Us humans, we have to trek up, and we're not as agile. Where Sasquatch, based on the reports and sightings,
there is a place on the property that overlooks everything.
Perfect.
I'm not sure he'll be up for the climb, but
if there's no nest, that may be just where they're residing. If they're on the property at all, that's probably where they would be.
There are the caves, right?
Yeah.
So it's possible, but there's nobody up there. It's pretty desolate, and it butts up on Crown land, and then there's the
perfect
national park.
We should clarify that the nests were not a repeating scenario. In other words, they didn't build a nest and stay in that area to utilize the nest.
Oh, so they just continued.
For
travelers.
Yes, it was we don't know for how long that they were in that area and how many of them were in that area. It's just that over, what would you say, Shane, a half a mile area that we found these nests along this river drainage. We kept tabs on it, but for the first year we didn't go back at all. Derek went in one time to put cameras, and then we went back a year later. we wanted to have hands off, just like your proprietor caretaker. We didn't want human intrusion to mess up what was going on.
No, we don't want to disrupt that at all.
No. So when we did go back, we discovered that they hadn't been back. They hadn't been using the area. We had clues here and there from sounds that they were possibly in the area at times when we were there, but it wasn't anything consistent at all. So I think Shane and I kind of came to a conclusion that there was a specific purpose for these nests that they were built. Now, Shane, you want to expound on that a little bit? You've got a pretty good idea.
Yeah, I mean, just so you know, we went through this whole study. Like Derek Randall's and quite a few of us went through this whole thing trying to figure out what could have possibly made these nests. We went through the whole gamut. We talked to a lot of different people. I mean, to date, we've had bear biologists look at these nests, anthropologists, primatologists, archaeologists, and none of them, a zoologist,
all the ologists,
primate specialists.
Yeah. And it resembles exactly like Derek Randall had found right in the beginning that the closest thing it resembles is a giant gorilla nest.
Sorry. No, sorry. I was just going to ask you, I'm curious about the huckleberry. Like there's no way of knowing how long it's been down or to be able to give a timestamp on how long these nests kind of are there. I personally believe that that whatever made these nests, and I'm fairly certain it was Sasquatch. They were made. We're pretty confident they were made in the months of February or March of that year, and we can talk a little bit really why, because we found a new one just this past. We found a brand new one in the making this past February of 2020, but they are definitely were built for not just an overnight thing. They were built for. Based on the size and the amount of work that went into building these things and constructing them, it had to be at least, a couple of days, if not, a week or longer. But one of the things that's really compelling about this area is not just the impressions we found. We've now found hand impressions, foot impressions, is the hair analysis that's been done by not just Dr. Jeff Meldrum, but also Cindy Dosen of Homini Enigma, who's a fellow Canadian. She's looked at the hair visually, and it matches other unknown hair from around the country, specifically the Pacific Northwest, Washington, Oregon, California, Alaska. And it looks like primate hair. And it's a lot of times it's got a red pigmentation to it under a microscope, which if you know anything about the Sasquatch, now a lot of sightings, people report like a auburn or reddish colored Sasquatch. So you have this unknown hair. You have these giant ground nests that, as Dr. Meldrum will tell you, because we brought him out and we took some samples from these nests. In some cases, the huckleberry boughs were actually shoved into the ground, and then the huckleberry was formulated around it. And we've done experiments, getting back to your question there, about how long does it take for this stuff to die, and it takes months. It does. They were discovered. They were probably built in February or March, and they were discovered in May. Okay, so they were still, in some cases, still kind of green. So they can stay green for quite a bit lengthy period of time. But you would have to literally walk into this area because it's just full of huckleberry. And then when you get into the actual nest area, which is about 90 feet across, it's on a kind of, a point. Yeah.
Inside there, it's just complete decimation. I mean, just inside this little area, all these nests, 7 nests in the original nest there. There were 7 total, including a nest that was built into a huckleberry bush off the ground that mimicked.
Like a village.
Like a little village, like a little one was practicing making a nest or something of that nature, like the ground nest. And the huckleberry, I said these nests are formulated around. They're not just like you grabbing branches and throwing stuff there. They're giant, circular or oblong, oval shaped, look like giant bird nests. But the huckleberry, in some cases, is over 2 inches in diameter. It takes something with extreme strength to snap this stuff. No teeth marks, no claw marks, peeled, broken off, and then formulated. And in some cases, there was a lot of huckleberry in that area that was, immediately available. But then to finish the nest, apparently, they had to travel 25, 30 feet away to gather more material. That is not any known animal behavior here in North America.
And I think something you guys told me in the documentary is that many of these were these bushes were sheared with sticks like over 8 feet tall. You know, like basically whoever was reaching up to grab this stuff had quite some height because they were going from 8 feet in the air to grab some of these leafy tree branches, right? Additionally, from what I gather, they would have to be fresh builds because the leaves would need to be still full of moisture, and when you're lying on them, then it would be comfortable. But if you're going to lie on something that's old, like this was an old build, it would crunch, it would fall apart, it would be very dry and dead. So
that would be uncomfortable, I would think.
Yeah, so I think whatever they came across was quite a like new build, so to speak.
Oh, I absolutely agree, Darcy. I mean, we've laid in these things before. We got Cliff Berkman out, and he laid in one. He said it was just like laying on a mattress. It was so comfortable, and you're right, it was still green, and so it was relatively recently built. Multiple nests were recently built, and yes, some of the breaks were 8.5 feet off, or in some cases 9 feet off the ground. And some tremendous breaks, and then you had some very gentle ones where it was just like something just plucked the tip off of one of the huckleberry boughs,
like
so very gentle. Yeah, I mean, just pluck in, and the huckleberry, it's an amazing thing because of you had the larger limbs on the bottom of these nests in circular formation, and then you had the smaller ones up top. So something went to build a frame and then put the smaller, comfortable ones up top. And in some cases, we found piles of huckleberry leaves plucked off and in piles around the encampment, and in some of those leaves were actually in the bed itself. So
that precious, yeah, that's
a lot
crazy.
of time.
You have to look at it forensically, so that okay,
absolutely. And so we have these nests. I'll get into this real quick, but February of last year, I took a buddy out to a new area to see if we can find more nests. We've been looking at other ravines that had the same sort of setup, the same sort of. We kind of feel like what we should be looking for. And so we went to an adjacent ravine, only about 2,000 feet away, but one we've just been surpassing. Derek Randall's, my partner, and I, we had looked at this area and found some possibly very older nests, but we hadn't searched the whole thing. So I brought a partner out there, Todd Hale of the Olympic Project, and we were setting up our camp and decided to go check out the ravine before it got dark. We'd head back and then check it out the next day. I just wanted to give this guy an idea where we're going to be looking. And we hiked through the woods, same sort of setup, real thick huckleberry. It's getting dark, so we're trying to go fast. And we get to the ravine, and I start hearing something walking around and breaking stuff. And I always carry in the woods because we have a lot of bear up here and a lot of cougar. And so I thought we were being charged by a black bear. And, we do have elk in some of these areas and deer. But it was large, I could tell, but it didn't sound like a quadruped. It sounded bipedal, but I didn't know for sure. So I drew my weapon thinking something's going to come right out of this brush at us. And it's getting closer and closer. And then it stopped, and then it backtracked, and then it went down into the ravine, and over a 10-minute span, it circled up behind us and we could hear it. So we're at a lower elevation. I decided to, Todd and I, my buddy, decided to head back up to a higher elevation, see if we could see whatever this was, or at least not be down at a lower elevation where we're at its mercy. And long story short there, we waited. This thing took off. We didn't hear anymore. We decided to go back to where we originally heard it. And that's when we discovered huckleberry boughs broken everywhere. And I knew there was going to be a nest in that area. I knew it. And the next, we hike out of there the following day. We bring a group out there, Derek Randall's and a few others. And sure and behold, there was a nest in the making. There was the biggest pile of huckleberry I've ever seen assembled in one spot, all brand new. I mean, fresh. And subsequently, we found hand impressions in this area, multiple 14-inch tracks, lots of hair. But I will tell you, I do feel guilty because the amount of work that went into collecting that huckleberry and not even yet formulate a nest, but probably in the making for possibly, as we surmise in some of our thoughts and theories, are that these are birthing areas. That's why there's not nests found all the time. They're birthing areas, and they're found maybe every 4 to 5 years in this area.
Oh, wow.
And so I felt
so cool.
Yeah, I kind of felt guilty because this thing wasn't coming back. Regardless, you can argue Sasquatch or not, it wasn't coming back. And I kind of felt guilty. It's kind of why we're out there, but I was always hoping to find more nests, but not necessarily that fresh. It was a cool experience, but I did feel guilty. But having said that, we've gotten so much information out of that one area, and now we have replicated this find, a new nest in a new area, but the same area, basically almost 5 years later, in the same month that we think they're being made. And we've gotten not just the hand casts and the foot impressions and all that stuff. We've gotten some amazing audio from this area that David Ellis has helped sort and look at and vet.
Tell us about that, and then we'll see if we can get the producer to bring them on.
Yeah, I don't know if you have been sent those audio clips or not.
Yeah.
Well, I know you were sent some audio, but I don't know if it was that.
There was 12 of them, and
okay.
I'll be hearing them for the first time along with everybody else. So if we can get Joe, who's supposed to be,
very possible the right group.
Yeah.
One more thing that led us to think that it was a birthing scenario. We worked with a gentleman in the Great Britain who came to us and said, blue or huckleberry bushes are known to be a medicinal source for birthing scenarios.
Oh, wow. So there's a validation.
Well, we just thought it was interesting.
Doctors used to give a mixture of huckleberry leaves and sugar to women after childbirth to help regain their strength.
Right.
And so, and it's only specific huckleberry. It's like the evergreen huckleberry, and I think there's one other type of huckleberry, but I never thought of that angle. I thought maybe they were eating the leaves, for food, because a lot of, primates, if indeed Sasquatch is something of that nature, they get all of their moisture from leaves. They don't even drink out of water. Now, well, maybe they're getting that. And then, of course, you have the huckleberries themselves, which up here in certain times of the year, it's just like grapes on a vine, and the huckleberry in this area is kind of a microclimate. It'll last sometimes through February if there's not a heavy frost. So you have all that. And so that was one of the things that our good pal Squatcher Metrics, Wes, he's in Great Britain, but he's an amazing analysis by trade, and check him out on Facebook.
Wow, absolutely.
Here's a curious little tidbit for you, too, that I learned in the making of the film. People are pretty well versed on the old Patterson-Gimlin event, the Patterson-Gimlin film.
Yeah.
And that video was recorded, or that film, rather, 8mm film, was recorded in Bluff Creek, which is part of Northern California. It's in a native indigenous tribes area. And apparently, before that film was recorded, a man by the name of Lyle Laverty, is that right, Shane? He was a excavator. He was another one of these guys that's in charge of taking the trees out of the area and using them for lumber and marking out that area for claiming wood. And he found in that area where Patty was recorded some kind of nesting site, some kind of ground nest. And this was from an area that was above Bluff Creek, which is named Scorpion Creek. Am I right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. This guy worked for the timber company, and he was in a kind of remote area, and Scorpion Creek feeds into Bluff Creek. It's a stone's throw away from where the Patterson-Gimlin film was filmed in Bluff Creek. But he found this giant ground nest, And if you look at Patty, this really got my wheels spinning when it came to the birthing thing. If you look at the Patterson-Gimlin film, if you're a proponent that it's a legit animal entity, which I believe so thoroughly.
Yeah, it hasn't seemed to have been debunked at all.
No. And it's actually, there'll be some new stuff coming out down the road that's pretty exciting about it. But
cool.
If you look at Patty, she's got, obviously these large breasts. She's, looks like she's either maybe had given birth or was about to give birth. But then you have this nest there as well. You have this female Sasquatch. You have this nest close by. And I definitely think, there's been other nests found throughout history, but they're almost always found by timber companies and timber surveyors because it's off trail. It's areas that haven't been logged in over 50 years or never. And they're hard to get areas. Nobody in their right mind would be in this area unless you have a job to do. And that's why it's always found by, like Darcy Weir mentioned, like this Lyle Laverty fella, and he found one, but nobody really knows that. It's kind of one of those things that gets lost in time. Fortunately, there was, Daniel Perez, Bigfoot Times, actually interviewed this guy for historical purposes, and that's where I heard it, and I went, "Wow, light bulb!" So
yeah, and it might very well be. That's why Patty had these big hairy titties. She might have been lactating. She might have had recently a little.
There wasn't a more scientific way to say that, right, Darcy? There wasn't a more scientific way to say that.
Can we do that? No.
It's not as fun, is it? All right.
That was great. Yeah, that was scientific term.
Just saying, it's a sponsor night. Just saying.
Yeah, it's okay.
Well, if this is a sponsor night and your listeners are going to hear the Folgers commercial, make sure that you run out and get some Sasquatch milk from those big hairy. No, never mind.
Wow, you looked at him that closely, huh? Sorry, I had to get you for that one.
I kind of had to be honest. It was slow motion. My first documentary went frame by frame, and I'm just watching these things jostle with each.
Oh, I'm watching my career go like this right now. But anyways.
Oh, come on, your career is fine.
That's okay. They love us. It's because we're just so off the cuff. Usually it's the guest. So that's all right. Okay. Sasquatch milk. Note to self.
I just threw up a little bit. It's right here. Just saying.
We're just actually waiting on the producer to come out and get the recordings ready. If you're listening, I know you're out there. So we're just waiting. So yeah. Before we get to the recordings, I guess let's talk about what other things should you look for when like you're just out hiking and all of a sudden you just walked into a territory and maybe you shouldn't be there. Are they really possessive about their territory? Are they going to take off? Or because some people think they're aggressive, other people find them really friendly.
I hate to say this, but it depends.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Note to the caretaker.
Yeah.
Do not leave food out.
Yeah. One thing that we've noticed is that they're not predictable. So you can be just fine, but it seems like they do react to some aggression at times. Right. And if you stumble into a situation where they feel like you're an intrusion, there have been numerous stories of bluff charges, and then but they don't show themselves. They just make this horrendous commotion that scares the holy what out of you, and you react, and if you don't react in a way that satisfies them, they will step it up. They will parallel you. If you start to run, they will run with you. Wow. If you stop, they will stop. But
freaking ninjas is what they are.
Yeah. But on the other hand, you can walk into their territory, and if you are not aware of some of the communication techniques, such as wood knocks and whistling, it'll go right over the top of your head, and you'll just carry on and not know anything's going on, which I'm certain most people would prefer. But if you are aware of your surroundings and you hear a wood knocking, it's either a woodpecker, a person, or a suspicious subject.
And combined with smell, or let's say, boulder rock throwing.
Mind you, they could probably pick one up. I think that your caretaker needs to carry, even though that doesn't happen in Canada. Might have to look into a hunting rifle.
What about just feeding them? You hear stories of people just leaving fruits and vegetables out for them and stuff. No?
Sorry, no. I'm dying here.
Okay, do not feed the Bigfoot. All right, I got it.
Don't feed the bears.
Not a cat.
Okay, fine. Okay, so
it's not a freaking cat. Let's stop.
People just they leave food way out in the back of their property.
If you do want to, I'm not suggesting an interaction will happen, but here's an idea that has worked for me personally in the past, and that's small toys.
Oh,
Things of curiosity, not food, but things of curiosity. And curiosity seems to be an Achilles heel. They have to investigate.
Oh, so like an iPad?
If you don't want it to work when you get it back,
You can put it on. You
know.
can put it on. Like a kids channel or something. See how they react. I don't know.
No electronic toys. You don't want to
you're a
like
high
freak him
roller.
out, right?
Pardon, I'm a high roller.
Oh
Yeah,
my
you got
god!
some iPads to throw out in the forest.
Joe
right?
got some free. Like we're just wondering.
Okay,
It's a
You
new
know.
level of gifting for a Sasquatch, for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wasn't talking pro. It was like the first one or something.
Wow.
yeah, the interesting
Amelia,
thing with
Saudi Arabian prince over here. Princess.
I wish.
the thing with leaving toys is, if you do that, photograph it, come back, see if things have changed, and depending upon where you place it, that you have to eliminate all the things that could have touched it
yeah.
that aren't a Sasquatch.
Right.
Raccoon, lots of different things
So
in the
stuffed
woods.
toy or doll or
Right.
I'd be afraid of what it does with a doll. Yeah.
What I has happened to me in the past is leaving something and it disappears. In other words, it's taken,
okay.
and then 3 or 4 weeks later, it's brought back and put back in the same identical place.
That's crazy.
What about a Rubik's Cube, Michelle?
Big
No,
deal.
seriously. Like
Yeah.
I mean, why not?
Sure. That's
Something
toy.
that creates,
If you can't solve it, throw it
He
to the
can
Sasquatch.
hurl it.
he can hurl it. Well, he can hurl a
Give me
doll too.
this stupid toy.
He can hurl a doll.
Stupid caretaker.
A doll, I'd be
Yeah.
concerned if
No,
any
but
of them
humanoid.
ever lost a child. I'd be afraid of a doll and how it would affect them with depression or their mental state as well. I would be afraid to do
I
something
worked
like
with
that.
a witness that didn't tell me that they put out a doll, and then they not only didn't tell me they put out a doll, but it was a talking doll.
Oh,
If you
no.
pushed a button, it would have this funny saying. So I'm listening to one of their recordings, and I noted at 9 o'clock at night, there's this funny cadence, and it sounds like somebody is singing a child's song. And I'm going, what in the world is going on?
Yeah.
And it just happened
Sasquatch
once.
was playing
so
with
it's
Annabelle.
mimicking.
And then and the
Oh,
interesting
you just
thing
walked
was
into our world. Do you notice that?
it had to push a button on the belly in order
To hear it.
make
We figured
to
it
make
out.
it. Yeah. And then so an hour later, same thing.
Okay,
And then-
Rubik's Cube is close.
All night long, nothing. But at 6 o'clock in the morning, it's pushed one more time.
Wow.
Wow. So it was very interesting.
So-
See, I'd
so-
be afraid of mental state.
There's
So,
a
yeah.
group that I believe out of Saskatchewan. Maybe you guys are familiar with them. They're on YouTube. They claim, and there are audio recordings, like while they're doing video, obviously, they are teaching this being, this Squatch, how to speak. And he's going, my name is Mike. And they would go all the time and go, my name is Mike. And they would hear in the woods something mimic this. Is this something that you guys have researched at all? Is it a possibility? Is it?
I have mimic recordings. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting. I think it's like phenomenal because obviously they're a highly intelligent being. I think people just don't give them credit. They're not, like a simple primate. That's just my own opinion.
Oh, they're definitely not simple regardless. Yeah.
No.
I mean, regardless, they're not just a simple primate. But then again, I don't think people give primates enough.
They
No.
don't.
No,
They-
they
I'm-
don't.
No, they do
They're
not.
still learning stuff about primates now that just blow their mind.
Yes. Correct.
I'm of the opinion that if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's probably a duck, but what is that duck capable of doing?
I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Or that chicken,
Look
or
at
that
dolphins.
chicken.
Dolphins have beat out humans on IQ tests.
Oh,
Yeah,
God, I think
exactly.
whales are next. Never mind.
I hope so. I hope so.
I
I don't
don't
know.
think it's far.
I don't know.
But,
I just look at the gorillas. I just look at all the experiments
They're
that they've done.
beautiful
They're
animals.
just
Yeah.
smart.
One other thing about the aggression, to backtrack a little bit, if I don't think Sasquatch is going around plucking people all the time or murdering them. Not that it hasn't happened, but if you get caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, as David kind of alluded to, you get caught between a mama bear and her cub, that's a bad spot.
Sure.
You get look at this guy he's a professional guy.
Between me and my 30-year-old.
I was just gonna say that's just as bad for a mom, like
It's true. Exactly.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Yeah.
There was a professional guide out in Wyoming recently murdered or killed by a grizzly, but this guy, he did everything right. He had a weapon, he had bear spray, he did all that. He still got killed, but what he had not witnessed was that he was laying or sitting or standing next to a moose that was buried by a grizzly, and the grizzly got ticked off. And so, wrong place, wrong time. Cougar, bear, even a person. People are unpredictable. Same thing. So, I mean, most of the time when you hear these, and aggression is different for every person. One man's black, another one's brown. Aggression is different, for everybody. Sometimes, if a rock's thrown, you're like, oh, it's being aggressive. Well, maybe it's not. If it bluff charges you. Is it being aggressive? It's just like a cougar. When you watch some of these videos where the cougar's, chasing down this guy, but it never tackles him. It's trying to chase him out of there. It's not hunting him. It's scaring him off. It's not necessarily aggressive behavior. It's get out of here behavior. Leave me alone behavior. So I think that's more cases than not, even with just known animals. So 2 cents there.
Can I just
do the station ID?
Yes,
and we're
because then we're going to get lost in time. But if you're tuning in right now, you are listening. You're throwing me off. You are listening to, oh my gosh, like completely. Thank you. It doesn't take much.
Well, the whole I bet Bigfoot tastes good thing. Joe eats anything.
Joe eats anything. Good Lord. But anyways,
because I love him. So sorry.
You are listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and myself, Amelia Pisano, and tonight we have 3 amazing guests with us. We have David Ellis, Darcy Weir, and Shane Corson with us tonight talking Bigfoot. And I bet you didn't know it, nests of all things. Wow, that is new information for us too. If you're in New Orleans, you're listening to us on 107.7 FM or 105.3 FM. We are United Public Radio. We are also International United Public Radio. There's another one. Can't remember it. Sorry, it's not happening. And tonight we are partially sponsored by our good friends at Folgers Coffee. Thank you, Folgers. You guys are the best.
No, we are not having it with Sasquatch milk.
No,
make sure
I take it black. Sorry,
I take it. A little bit of Sasquatch.
No. Black.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Never
put cream in there again. Just saying.
Okay, Joe, can we get maybe bring up some of the recordings, please? And you guys can walk us through it. There we go. Yay. Okay. So where are we starting with number 1, please? Where are we at? There you are. Getting close. There we go. Okay.
I can't see.
Okay. Possible.
Okay, yes, this is from the nest area, the second, we call it what, Shane, the second nest site?
The newest nest site, just found this past, February of 2020.
Okay.
And so the recordings that we are listening to were recorded in the months of February and March.
Okay.
So,
we're listening to one, Joe. We can't hear any of them. Nope. Don't know what you're doing. Go back to 1.
Can I hear them on the
radio? So these are MP3 files?
Yeah, I hear them really good.
You need a little bit louder.
You have to stay on with us.
Now I can hear them.
Oh, okay. So that's...
Wow. Oh, he has... Joe, you have to go back to number 1.
Oh, well, hold on.
And then hold it.
Okay, it looks like we have a potpourri of sounds. I noticed that one is not from the nest area. So
okay, I'm just putting them in. I put them in order from 1 to 12. So if that helps. Okay, so in 2.
Oh, It's sad.
So if we could pause that for a moment. Don't go to 3 just yet, please. So where was that one? Like, that's very high pitched.
Yeah,
Creepy.
it's actually a little bit lower. It's in the 700 hertz category, which
Wow,
is
really?
which is kind of the sweet spot, if you will, that a lot of different um, researchers have kind of zeroed in on that frequency.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the long vocalizations. That was a series of 4. Typically, it's just one long vocalization, but sometimes they will vocalize in a pattern. I had a circumstance in the Tillamook Forest Range where on one ridge, one vocalized 3 times, and then it was answered on another ridge by another one
Wow.
3 times.
Wow.
So you have to kind of wonder or speculate that there's some sort of a meaning by the number of vocalizations. So
Well,
anyway,
it's fascinating, yeah, to think that there are several, in one area, and this is how they can communicate. That's excellent. Can we go to number 3, Joe, please?
one more,
Sorry.
just a little aside on that last
Sure.
recording. That was sent to me by a person. I didn't actually record that, but they recorded it off of their iPhone.
Wow. There you go.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
There you go, Apple.
So that if people are out in there and they hear something in the woods that they don't understand, or if they actually capture it on their phone, they can send it to me, and I can analyze it, look at it, and actually enhance the audio of interest.
Well, if it's okay with you, I'd like to send a couple of these to our caretaker.
Sure.
So if you hear this shit, you be recording it.
And if it gets close, you run.
Exactly. It's you slacking off. Get out there with your phone.
Well, instead of putting out cameras, it would be better if you put out recorders. I can guarantee you that.
Okay, that's actually a really good idea. You want to go to 3 now? Number 3? Okay. I don't think I hear anything, Joe.
I don't either.
Didn't hear that one, Joe.
Don't hear it. Do it again. Yeah, you have to stay on with it.
It was I was here. It was just I hit the wrong button. Hold on a second.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Jesus. And can we pause that? Okay, note to self, caretaker, if you hear that, run.
That sounds like that is a female going through labor. I'm just saying, because that sounds very familiar to me.
Maybe she doesn't like being milked.
Darcy, you're gonna die with this one, seriously.
Connect you up with Joe who's trying to eat the thing. Oh, I just wrong on every level, honestly. Okay, so that was what?
That was a roar. That's pretty obvious.
Yes.
But that was one roar looped 5 times. So you heard the same roar 5 times. I have found that when you do a recording or play a recording for somebody, if you don't loop it, they'll ask, could you play that again? And so usually after hearing it 3 times, your mind kind of clicks in and starts to register what it is that you're hearing. So I just kind of standard on doing a 5-time loop for people.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, I grew up north, wooded area, and sometimes you think you're listening to loons and wildlife and whippoorwills. I start reframing everything. So wolves. I grew up with timber wolves. I thought that's okay, that's pretty cool, but there'd be things in them. Their woods. Can we have number 5, please, Joe? Hello. Number 5. Or 4 again is okay.
It made my two dogs go crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's so high.
And 5.
That fits a pattern that I've seen or had people send me audio from all over the country, and it's the pattern I call singing. So it has kind of a singing nature to it, and I've recorded it in just about every study area that I've worked, and also across the country. So
Really?
there is it's a category. They're not obviously going to be singing the same song. It's
No,
just
of course.
it's just a pattern, if you will, a sustained note rather than a voice.
No, I think it's fascinating because I would not expect to hear something like that. It's almost as though it makes them more, and I mean, I won't say human, obviously. I mean, it could be part human. I'm down for that, but it just humanizes them a little bit. It just takes away from the fact that people are trying to go out there and we're going to hunt one and this and that, and it's just like I think this just adds a little bit more feeling and emotion to them, that they are sentient beings, that they're intelligent, and that they can vocalize and communicate. I mean, much like many species, I suppose, but I just find that really interesting. Okay, go ahead.
Well,
Sorry, Joe. Sorry. Go ahead,
yeah,
David. Can you pause that? Thank you.
we're on an explosion of information here as DNA testing and genetics roll along. We're learning more about our past through DNA research than we are through archaeological finds.
Mhm.
And I think what I mean by an explosion of information, I think we're going to find out that the human branch is more of a bush than a tree, if you will.
Right.
That there are many splinters, many groupings. I'm kind of looking at the Neanderthals as of late and discovering some interesting things. That they were more into smaller groups, which is something that I think that we see in the Sasquatch investigation, is and that they will congregate. This is the one interesting thing that with the nest is that they will congregate at certain times of the year.
Oh.
Several various groups would get together, then they would split apart again, which also seems to fit some things. And if you look at the birthing scenario where 23 nests, you kind of wonder how many Sasquatch were in this area at one time. So maybe it was birthing and maybe it was procreation.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you're with your same small band, you're going to find some genetic defects.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense also. So there's definitely thought put into that.
Yeah.
It's like a dating game. Speed dating. Speed procreating. Okay, we can go to number 5, please, Joe. Thank you. When you're ready. Thank you. Okay, so that's interesting. What is that?
So Shane, you want to elaborate a little bit? This was in the nest area.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough one to listen to over the airways. But what's really interesting, and something I like is just after we came across this brand new nest, within the next couple of days, I started putting audio out in this area, and what you're actually listening to is something very large stomping around in the woods, maybe making a few grunts, something or huffs. But it's very hard to hear it over the airways. But it was whatever that came through this area was massive in size, going through this thick huckleberry, and it kind of sounded perturbed, maybe a little angry, just based on its movements. But that's all, of course, my perception. But something very large came through that area, really close to where I had my recorder, and that's not a bear or an elk. There's nothing in that area that can make that stomping sound or that beating sound that I'm aware of. So it's kind of a tough one to listen to, but it for me personally, that's one of the ones I really, really like.
Yeah, that's really different. Next one, please.
Oh.
I find that absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, some of
I
them
really
are so
do.
sad.
I do. Yeah.
That was recorded in the new nest study area. It was one a little closer to the mic. A second one starts to vocalize and then cuts short, and then something further away starts to vocalize. So and if I remember looking at the spectrogram, there was 3 different resonating hertz. So that means that there's 3 different creatures.
Wow.
Wow.
I just think it's beautiful. It's soothing. It's very calming. It's like they sound content. Sorry.
That's
okay.
I do. I just feel it's just like they're laid back, and it just sounds really, they don't sound panicked. They don't sound, like aggressive. Nothing. It just sounds just really, really soothing. Okay, next, please.
Can I just read Joe's comment before
Yes, of course. Of course.
Our producer Joe put in Lloyd Pye's research suggested that Bigfoot is the natural evolution of a Neanderthal.
Yeah.
It's very possible. Very, very possible. Maybe they didn't die out. Maybe they morphed into something else.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a portion of them died out, but not all of them.
Mm-hmm. I believe that.
Pretty large Neanderthal, that's for sure.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be only about 5 feet tall.
Yeah, but they could have made it at one point. Who knows?
See, Wayne makes a good point. Says it's similar to the way whales communicate with one another.
We know they're mating. So
there's also another creature in play, the denosavans, which were much, much larger.
Yes.
And Australopithecus and Gigantopithecus both would be better candidates than Neanderthal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I concur.
Next one, please. Thank you. Okay. I don't know about that. I'm not opening my mouth on that one. So, what do you guys got to say about it?
Well, its cadence sort of suggests speech, but I don't hear speech. So,
Right.
I don't know what to say. It's a recording of something that doesn't match anything known that I can find as of yet.
Okay.
No,
that's
it's not a
interesting.
chicken. Not a chicken
Not
either.
a chicken. I like it. Yeah, it could be a mating call. I don't know. Okay. Next one, please.
Soothingly haunting.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty loud. That's just getting his point across. Hers.
I want to take that sound and like mix it with something from Beethoven. I'm serious. Like that is really cool.
It's like a new ringtone. I
DJ
just wig out
Amelia.
anybody in the
DJ,
street when you're in the store.
A little bit just above DJ. What
Yes,
are they
it-
called now? Mixologists? I have to change my career after tonight, Darcy.
You don't have to.
No,
You just have to embrace your new career.
I have to embrace the milk of a Sasquatch. Okay,
Mixologist.
mixologist. That's right. But isn't that a bar thing? I don't know, but I could use one of those too right now.
Sasquatch martini.
Oh,
Or a White Russian.
oh
we go.
my gosh.
Yeah.
They call those I think
Yetis?
almasty. Yeah, Yeti Russians. Yeti slides. Yeti
Abominable Russian.
Oh, enough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Abominable.
we're good.
Just keeps
All right,
getting
moving
better.
Oh my god.
Okay, next one, please. Number 9.
Okay, so that's a little tough to follow without knowing what's going on. At the beginning, there's 2 power knocks, which are 2 loud percussive sounds, followed by 2 distant. It's more of a visual than hearing them. If you don't know what you're looking for, you're probably going to miss it. Followed by 2 vocalizations. So it was interesting that there was 2 power knocks, 2 wood knocks, and 2 vocals.
Yeah.
Something going on with the 2s in that communication.
And they're coming from one
No,
creature. Okay.
they were coming
2
from
different.
3 different.
3
creatures.
different.
Wow.
That is
Right.
wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Next one, please. Thank you.
That's an aggressive bark for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
there was Aurora, and then it was answered by something else in another location. So again, it was solicitation and response.
so what happens if you, you know what, we'll play. I was going to say, no, I'll just do it really quickly. What happens if you play these recordings out loud in the field?
I had one witness do that once, and I'll have to have her tell you what happened. She'll never do it again.
Oh, great.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Another note to self.
Let's pass that message
To the
along to the caretaker.
Do not play any of these recordings out loud.
Yeah,
It could end badly for you.
Tell them to do it.
It's starting to turn out a lot like the demonics that we deal with, because we don't play those
Jesus.
things out loud either.
This guy, this guy's going to be like, yeah, okay.
Was it
I've
a
got-
mating? Was it a mating call, and she aroused a male somewhere out in the?
Yeah, see, we don't know what you're soliciting. You don't know what it
Right.
is that you're trying to get a response, and you get
We don't know what
it's
this
great
means.
success if you get a response. But what if you've really pissed them off?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, what if it's like
That's
an
right.
act of war or something? You know.
Yeah. So
Okay.
what I do for any kind of a solicitation is a percussive sound. It's more of a stealthy, non-aggressive, and I've had communication going back and forth
Excellent.
where I do 2 knocks, something I do 2 knocks, I do 3, I do 3. So
The knocking is okay then. Just mild
well,
knocking.
it doesn't seem to have any kind of a aggressive response.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And
That's
unless you're into aggression, then
beat a tree. I don't know.
That
Yeah,
thing
this-
comes out with a leather whip, you're in trouble.
and one other caveat that I usually tell people: if you're going to do knocking, don't knock 2 rocks together.
Oh, okay.
Knock the tree
Well, yeah, knock on a tree, wood on
or
wood,
2 pieces
or-
of wood. Right.
Well, wait,
yeah.
does it
Why
mean
not
something
rocks?
different?
Well, if you think about it, extrapolate it out, it could mean I'm armed and dangerous.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that would make sense. That would make sense. Okay. Remember that when I'm out in the wild, not. So-
Or Wayne's called it the Dirty Yeti, a double plea. Thanks, Big Brother. Yes, Dirty Yeti. Ain't
The
that a
show.
double?
The show. All right. Number 11, please.
Where did we go and how did that happen,
Where did we
Darcy?
go wrong? Where did everything turn?
How did that happen, Darcy?
Okay. Number 11, please.
These things happen.
They do.
So if you notice,
What is it?
sorry, if you notice, the vocalization was shorter than some of the longer ones that we've been playing.
Yes.
They're not always a long vocalization. Sometimes they're in the 2 to 3 second category. Again, it probably has a meaning. We just don't know what it is.
Mhm.
Right. Right. Okay. And the last one. Dun, 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 dun. Mhm.
The whistling. It's very creepy.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's a vocalization. That's not a whistle.
Yeah. Very
It's
high pitch.
fascinating.
Very high pitch. Is
Right.
it a younger Sasquatch or is it a female?
I can go either way on that.
Okay.
You know, I don't know. The only thing I can tell you is in a very high pitch, which is out of character, but it's a sustained note, like the singing, and it had two pitches. It had a high followed by a low, and then it repeated high followed by a low.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that like you're able
Thank you, Joe.
to like take these sounds and compare them to known vocalizations. Is that like basically how you rule this out from being a coyote or a wolf or something going off at night, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
can you tell them about the like internet data source that you use?
Yeah, the Macaulay Library of Sound. It's a disinterested third party. It solicits audio recording from reliable sources, and the source has to see the vocalizer, and then it's given a file name, the circumstances where it was recorded. They do a really good case build. And they also provide a spectrogram, so you can then compare your audio to the known audio. So if it doesn't have any kind of a similarity to it, then you can say, well, this is suspicious. I won't ever tell you that it's a Sasquatch that's been recorded. I can tell you that I have a suspicion that it was. Because
it's not definitive.
It's you
unless
can't
you're
prove
seeing it for yourself, right? Is that the idea?
Yeah, and everything is up for review. So anything that I think could be Sasquatch related, if it can be proven that it's not using the same methodology, then I'm happy to put it on the known shelf.
Right.
But for now, it stays.
It's subjective until you.
Right.
So when you put this film together, obviously you have a lot of audio. You've got a lot of photographs, obviously all the nests, etc. Eyewitness accounts. Did you talk to people about having experiences, like people who've sent in these clips, for example?
Shane is an eyewitness. There's people that are part of the Olympic project. Many of the folks that I've interviewed throughout the years that believe in Bigfoot, Sasquatch, they believe because they had an encounter. They had an experience that was not within the normal realm of, accepted thought. And many people out there that actually have these encounters don't actually come forward. They usually just stay silent on it because they're kind of fear ridicule, And Shane and his buddies actually were out on an expedition and they saw something really startling. I'll let Shane talk about it.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to mention, Darcy's film, Sasquatch Among Wild Men. It's got a little bit of everything, but the focus is the connections between North America and some of the other stuff going around the world, especially like China and places like that, nests and stuff. Sasquatch Among Wild Men is probably one of my favorite documentaries or productions I've been involved with. So I just want to give kudos to Darcy because it's fantastic. He did a great job at that in the Unwanted Sasquatch. So, I mean, I highly recommend it. Not just because I'm in it, obviously. But,
Shucks.
no, but I mean, it was
maybe.
Well, yeah, I mean, no, but it was just well done.
It just makes it better, right?
It was well done.
Darcy, put Shane's name in big letters, and it'll sell even faster.
Yep, I'll be holding a milk jug.
Already done.
Got milk. It's a whole new NHL commercial, is it, Shane?
Yeah. Got Sasquatch milk. Got milk.
Yeah, Gilmore did it the first time, although I don't think Dougie would be doing the second one.
Oh my God, it's funny.
Yeah. So I did have an encounter. I've had a few things happen over the years. I did a lot of research in up and down California, both south and north. Never really had anything happen. Moved up to Oregon in 2008. 2011, fast forward. I actually wasn't on an expedition. I actually was just out fishing with some buddies in a remote area, Mount Hood National Forest. I was heavily invested in Sasquatch, don't get me wrong. But up until that point, I had minimal happen. Found a few maybe interesting things. Talked to a lot of eyewitnesses, but I really had nothing happen. And was on a remote backpacking trip out in the Mount Hood National Forest.
That's
not
how it
doing
happens.
Exactly. And we had a 2-night experience. The first night, basically, long story short, we hiked into this lake. There's about 8 lakes in this area, 7 to 8 lakes in this area. We had a base camp. We thought we had enough time to go find one of the other lakes. Well, we did, but we got lost. We ended up hiking like 17 miles off trail, lost. We made our way to the lake we were going to be fishing, but by that time it's too dark. We find the trail, make it back to camp. But what we had done was we got up on this ridge line and got lost. And so we were seeing bear sign. I had a buddy that brought a bear pan, not bear pan, a couple pots of pans. He was banging them, literally. He was that afraid. He was, I'm not kidding. And
I'm laughing because I was trying to.
So you're pissing off the Sasquatch, essentially, like I'm armed with pans.
Okay.
Well,
That's how the Italians ring in the New Year, by the way, right? It's supposed to push away all the negativity and the bad spirits of that year. Just saying.
I'm from Scotland. It just pissed me off. I'm like, just stop. Okay. Yeah. So, anyways, this guy was from Boston. He's a Boston transplant to the Pacific Northwest. We got lost, and I think it plays a part between the banging and the getting lost. We come back to our camp that night, and then around 1:32 in the morning, we had something clanking rocks around our camp. It's coming close to our camp. It's
even.
It's moving back and forth. It's breaking stuff. Maybe a percussive like a knock, and then it left. Well, next morning we were talking about this, and I was kind of thinking, I don't know what that was. Could have been an elk, with its antlers. We were trying to rationalize it, but we're out fishing. And I'm an avid fisherman. So we went out the next morning and hiked into the other lakes, did not get lost, found our lakes, fished, got our quarry, came back to camp, cooked us a meal, built a big fire again like we did the night prior because my buddy Ian, the Bostonian with the pans, he was definitely afraid of bears. And so he built this gigantic fire. And that night, my buddy Mitch, the other partner with us that was camping, we had 3 separate tents next to this lake. He goes, it's back, and I'm listening. And I can hear this rock clanking, and it's getting closer and closer and closer. But it's almost nonstop. It's not like a clank here and there, and it gets close and then it stops. And he's awake, I'm awake. Our buddy Ian's out here snoring in his tent, and I'm listening.
Through the whole thing. What a guy!
Somebody had a dirty Yeti after the fire.
Wow.
Maybe 1 or 2. Who knows? I mean,
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. He actually the night prior he had slept through the whole thing too. So it's just Mitch and I, the 2 of us listening, and Ian, he's passed out both nights. Well, after that rock clanking stopped, and it was, I don't know how close to our camp it got, but it stopped, and it's dead quiet out there. And it's just, you could hear a pin drop, and I'm listening, and I'm on my back, and then bam, bam. I mean, the most loudest tree knocks or whatever percussive sounds you've heard up close. 5 in a row, and you could literally feel them in your tent. It was whatever was hitting a tree was hitting it so hard.
You feel the vibration.
You feel the vibration in the ground.
Wow.
And by that time, so now my heart is up here. My ears are pounding of blood, adrenaline. Mitch and I are quiet. Well, Ian, my other buddy, he wakes up. You can't sleep through this. he wakes up. I mean, he's freaking out.
Yeah.
And then I said, shut up. And then we hear something come through the trees up above us. And we're a big Douglas fir forest, pine trees everywhere. Something's coming through the top of the trees, and I could hear it hitting branches from this hill above our camp. And it lands thud next to my buddy Mitch's tent. And he's next to the lake. It's kind of a muddy area. And I knew exactly what it was. Something had thrown a rock at us. It just hit in the tree and boom, right next to his tent. Missed his tent, landed right there. And instantly in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I know what I'm dealing with.
Get it. I'm not hitting them hard enough.
Yeah. But I knew at that moment, I just knew there's nobody out here messing with us. You'd be taking your life in your own hands, and nobody can hit a tree that hard. And the stomping around, this thing was stomping around the brush around our camp, breaking stuff. I couldn't tell if it was knocking branches off of trees or just stomping on the ground. And so that happened. My buddy Ian's freaking out. I want to calm him down because he's just losing his stuff. He won't be quiet. He's got a weapon. And I thought, well, shoot, I need to get that weapon away from him because I actually loaned it to him, and I shouldn't have because he had no business having one. But because he was afraid of bears, I loaned him one, and I decided I need to get out of my tent, get that weapon before he shoots someone because he's not even like giving a coherent sentence. Mm-hmm. And so I'm unzipping my tent. And I'm looking around, and I really didn't want to get out of my tent. I'll be honest with you, but I'm looking around, and I'm like, I hope I won't see anything, and I didn't. And then all of a sudden, something caught my eye behind a tree, and what I'm seeing is basically I see something swaying back and forth, and that's when I notice a hand, an arm, a shoulder, and a head, and it's just doing this. The arm's on the front of the tree, and the back, it's behind the tree, but it's swaying back and forth like this. Just back, looking, I guess assuming looking right at me, but it's massive. And wow. I'm looking at this thing, and it peels, takes its arm off the tree, drops it to its side, peels around, and goes up this trail and disappears. That was it.
What do you think prompted the behavior? Was it the pan tapping, or was it just wow, St. Dave's like I told you?
And that Bostonian's Italian, it's New Year's. I'm joining the party.
Okay, so you pissed it off, and it was coming back from showing you who owned the place.
There's a lot more to the story. I was condensed. I mean, my buddy Mitch was hearing something off to his left, and I was hearing something off to my right. I think there was more than one of these things out there. What I think. Wow. My only idea, I went through this for months trying to figure out why 2 nights in a row. You'd never hear of that happening, really. It's usually like this thing came back 2 nights in a row, or they came back 2 nights in a row. And then the second night it escalated between the rock and the pounding and in the knocks and stuff. I think we got up on this ridge line, lost. Nobody goes up there. Yes, there was some bear sign, but maybe some of it wasn't bear sign. We were just lost. We're up there, a bunch of, 3 dummies up there yelling at each other, banging pots, urinating when we had to take a leak, dropping water, all that stuff. We're leaving our scent. We're up in this off-trail area, and these things are probably going, what are these yahoos doing up here? And, I mean, our scent was everywhere. I mean, it'd be easy. Basically, even though we got lost, the original spot we got lost in was right above the lake, off-trail. We got lost right up there, so it was a huge ridgeline right above this lake. Mm-hmm. I think they just happened to be residing up there for, a period of time or whatever, and came back, and we didn't get to hit the first night, so the second night we did, and it worked. We got out of there. The next morning without a word.
Going through that again.
Oh, I do actually. But
no. I mean, well, I don't think your friends did.
Oh no,
You're going solo, my friend.
Ian is not going camping anymore. No, Ian's done camping. I haven't talked to him in years, actually.
When I have to say, "Can you hear me now?" That's where it stops for me.
Yeah.
I don't camp, so.
That's
pretty frightening.
In that area, come to find out, the dummy that I am, I had no idea how many sightings were in that area. I happen to be in a kind of a mecca of an area for Sasquatch reports and sightings where people have been literally chased out of that lake, had crazy bears throwing rocks at them. And I found a lot of this stuff on a lot of this information wasn't on like the typical sites, like the BFRO or even the Olympic Project site or any of that. It was on hiking forums, AR gun forums, just average people talking about, oh, hey, I was going camping this weekend in some camping forum. And like, hey, this happened. Some crazy bear was up on this ridge throwing these big boulders at us. And bears don't throw rocks,
Wow.
Exactly.
Now
and
you can't.
You go to like BFRO, I don't know if you've ever heard of that, ladies. I know you're. Oh, you are?
Yeah. No, I've heard of it. Yeah.
So yeah, it's the Bigfoot Field Research Organization. I'm sure there's lots of ghost organizations too that you ladies follow. But if you go to BFRO, you can actually see that there's thousands of sightings across North America throughout history, and in Washington State is where there's hundreds and hundreds throughout history. And these are coming from police reports, all kinds of stuff, and
they're very detailed on that site.
Yeah, I mean,
they really are. They cover everything.
And so, why would it would be the world's greatest hoax if that was able to be pulled off, if all these reports were just bears throwing rocks.
I'd want to meet the bear. So they pick the thing up.
Well, I don't know if you want to meet a bear because it might rip you apart.
Oh, I grew up.
Bears-
I grew up around black bears. We had them. You learn. You just learn
had-
what to
you
avoid,
had a-
what not to. I grew up around that stuff.
a
It didn't really
little
bother me.
Pet black bear or something?
Black bears.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Not me.
Blueberry season. Don't eat the blueberries. Leave them alone.
I grew up around the Toronto streetcars. You learn how to handle your way around the city.
No, seriously, wolves are different Timberwolves. I could sit on one mountain, look over at another mountain, and the Timberwolf sitting there looking at me. I'm looking at
After
him.
tonight's show, the city's looking even better. I might have to get out of the country and go back. I'm just saying.
I love
Oh.
this. I do.
Oh,
I do.
Run away.
So
Yeah.
that's definitely an interesting tale. So basically, they're looking at Shane going, okay, you're the one that we're not chasing out of here. What's wrong with this picture? Amp it up.
He's too interested. Maybe would you be able to bring equipment out there and pick up some sound? Like you'd be able to find that spot again, right?
Oh, I know the spot well. I've been back there, and
Okay.
for months, after going back up, I didn't go back out there for a month or two, and then actually Cliff Berkman's a friend of mine, and he had a fellow BFRO guy that we went out there and we did record some stuff, and subsequently over the years, this is 2011 August. I've been out there. I go out there at least. I used to go out there quite frequently, but that's in Oregon. Now I'm up in Washington. I go out there at least once or twice a year, and a lot of times nothing happens. But on some occasions, it could be awesome, and the audio and it's a really neat area. And there's a missing guy in this area. He's been missing since 2010, and every time I'm out there, because he went missing under some kind of weird circumstances, I'm always looking for him because there's a backpack out there somewhere, a couple of fishing poles, a hat, clothes, and a body. So. It's an interesting area. I'll just say that.
Well, yeah, because the West Coast is beautiful. I've been to Seattle. That whole state is gorgeous.
Yeah, you get up in the Olympics, and it's and you get out in the Mount Hood Wilderness down in Oregon, or it is a completely remote rainforesty areas, and they're amazing.
So why are people not finding them? There seem to be a lot of eyewitness accounts that there's just no real, I guess, evidence, nothing really definitive. Are they hiding in caverns? Are they, because let's face it, so many of our forests are completely unexplored. There could be tons of caves and caverns underground, so dense.
You just answered your own question.
Yeah,
okay,
go ahead.
Thank you. What do I need you guys for then, honestly?
I'm going into the wanted section tomorrow.
The interesting thing is that there have been historical accounts of people capturing these beings, and the most famous one is the Jacko capture that happened in 1880 in Yale, British Columbia. It was found along a train track, and this was at night. It seemed to be passed out or something like that. The train stopped because it didn't want to hit this animal. They thought it was a bear as well, and when they got out, they saw it was this hairy ape-like thing. And gorillas and chimpanzees and stuff didn't make their way to North America until well into the 20th century. So they captured this, they lassoed it, they brought it back to this town, Yale, British Columbia, and a Dr. Hannington examined it, and he said it was covered in fur head to toe. It had abnormally strong features. It could snap a stick by twisting it instead of snapping it, and this is all in the newspaper from the time.
So it was alive.
It was alive, yeah. So
and they managed to capture it.
There's hunters that have said that they've shot these things, and this is commonly reported. Most people that come across these types of things are campers, hunters, hikers, and it's usually a fleeting glimpse. Sometimes we get recordings via video. Sometimes we get pictures, but it's amazing amount of footage and picture material out there. And there's been hair samples collected. these boys have found the nest sites, and it's not just isolated in North America. If you watch this latest documentary, these things have been reported across Europe, Asia, and it's just part of history that that wild men, these things that are more akin to an ape-like man, is lurking in the deep wilderness around the world. You know, just like ghosts don't just happen in North America, ladies. They apparently happen all over the world.
It's a good thing I know a thing or two about that. Dang. So
well, we like to follow the evidence. And
yeah.
Small
Wow,
foot.
that's
We
so
go-
tiny.
Little foot.
Yeah, that is not quite 4 inches
Wow.
in length.
So just a wee one.
Just a
Oh,
little
it's just a
one.
little baby.
Aw.
Baby foot.
Baby
Little
foot.
baby.
So what do you mean? There's a guy in the States who claims to have like 2 of them on ice that his father captured going by his YouTube videos all over the place.
And the government
He's a
hasn't been in there to
He's the
explain them?
comedian.
Is he
The guy's a
Canadian?
comedian. No, he's a
Talking about-
comedian.
Okay.
You're talking about Pete the dog trainer.
Yes.
Really?
I was going to say, what do you
Yeah.
make
It's a
of that?
bunch of-
That
it's
just
a
seems like
bunch of-
completely unrealistic.
It has to be
It's
a
a
bullshit
bunch-
story.
It's a bunch of frozen meat with wigs on it.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
Okay.
it has to be a bullshit story because the government would have been right in there
what
stripping
I
it right out,
think. I'm
man.
like,
Like
how are
it
you
never
getting
would have
away with
lasted
this?
that long. He never would have had it on YouTube. It would have been gone that fast.
Oh,
He's a funny
yeah.
guy. I actually really like his videos.
Yeah, he's
They're-
funny.
They're really entertaining, and if he had a podcast, I'd appear on it.
Just putting
It's
it out there.
probably
Well-
it's probably better. I don't know.
Yeah, we you probably ask him about, has he collected any milk, right? Darcy.
Does this
There
say
you go.
anything I can milk?
would
Let's show it to
wonder
me.
if he had a female caught,
Can I milk the
on ice.
Sasquatch? Is it
Maybe
possible?
his Sasquatch has been a puzzle, Darcy.
Maybe his brings all the Sasquatch to the yard.
That's right.
There
Could
you
be.
go.
Yeah,
that's
Could
true.
be. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe she doesn't want him in her yard.
That's right.
Maybe.
Just saying, I used to sing for years, so like I'm gonna catch you on every tune.
Perfect.
All right then.
What did you say?
Well, I don't know where we went off the rails exactly. But
I don't know. I
We
just
went
know
to
we're-
Darcy's yard on milk.
Yeah, I got a yard here full of Sasquatch milk. Come on over.
So all you have to
That's
say is it's
Darcy's
the new.
promo.
Yeah, if you
Darcy's
say
promo for
it's the
for
new
night.
way to
Soldiers.
drop weight in a week, you'll have that sold
There we
Oh,
go.
what?
like
Is
this.
that what we need?
That's
I'm-
all you need
I'm
to do
fine.
is have a
That's
a CGI effect of you being like 400 pounds and then you now and saying I drank this and lost all this weight overnight.
But the
And
key
you
is
can
you
sell
need
water
to
in a
catch the
bottle.
Sasquatch.
How about going on a little Sasquatch hike? A little exercise never hurt nobody.
No, I know, but I'm just saying like the
teach
weight
people
industry
how
is
to do,
diet
like,
industry is
shopping.
multi-billion-dollar industry.
Madness. But
Folgers,
Yeah.
Folgers Miracle weight loss Sasquatch coffee.
Now we just lost Folgers, but that's okay.
It's a good thing they love us. And
All
they have a
right.
good sense of
that
humor.
year contract we just got, it's over.
it's done.
Okay.
It's a year
I'll try-
contract. They can't get out of it. It's legally
Just
binding,
look,
right?
make sure you book Darcy again, Michelle. Just saying.
Oh yeah. We're gonna get tag teamed and not in a good way, sir.
Yeah.
Hey Joe, I want my own radio show. Okay.
Yeah.
The girls are bullying me, Joe. I've earned it. No, Joe.
yeah.
You wait till the next episode, then we can think about it.
Mhm.
You're cute
Let's
when
see
you
how he
bully.
holds up.
You're cute. You're cute when you bully.
All right. So, as
Oh,
we
I think the little Gary King has rubbed off on you, Darcy.
Groovy, I know. All righty.
What do
So-
you mean rubbing off? No
I-
one's rubbing off here.
Mother
I want to talk about the
God.
Sasquatch
Not
milk
the
again. We just looked
I've got the
really
Virgin
awesome.
Mary behind me. Can we clean this up?
Okay. And,
I'll tell you what. I'll bring us
If
back.
you
I'll bring
really
us back
believe
around.
She was a virgin,
Thanks,
right?
Jane.
hi, Shane. Yeah.
So one of the interesting things about Pacific Northwest is not many people know this, but between here, basically California and Alaska, there's over 56 missing planes, stationary objects that we cannot find. We're talking about large planes, small planes, Cessnas, you name it, lost in the Pacific Northwest, stationary objects. So why is it so mind-boggling that we can't find something that's like a moving needle in a haystack? It's actually moving, it's living, and probably very small in number. I don't think there's hundreds of thousands of Sasquatch. I don't think there needs to be. You're talking about something small in number, traveling around, not stationary for a lengthy period of time. It's not that, and when you talk about bones and stuff, I mean, we could joke about that all day, but I mean, I've been in the woods. I see loads of bears. I see all these, I do come across bones, but rarely, I've never actually come across any cougar bones. I've never come across any bear bones, at least I could identify. And once again, we don't have people out there in the woods. You don't really have a whole lot of people that know what they're looking at when they come across something. They could find a bone, but they'd be like, "Oh, that's an elk bone, or that's a bone. That's interesting." They're not experts in those fields to come across a bone, which is almost rare by itself, to identify it. And most of the encounters are fleeting glimpses. They're short. The number one sighting, bar none, is roadside crossings. There's more people on the roads driving the roads, and then you get into the hiking and that sort of stuff. But it's I think it's very arrogant for people to go, yeah, there can't be Sasquatch because we would have found this or we would have found that. Well, I mean, I was just reading a report today, National Geographic, and they came across this brand new dinosaur species. Not even dinosaur, megafauna species.
Right.
The largest land animal to walk the earth ever. Brand new fossil. So, that one of the arguments is that there's no fossil record for Sasquatch. Well, I think there probably is. And two, if they're small in number and always have been, or diverted in a different direction, the chances of finding a fossil are slim to none. I don't care.
Do they bury their dead? Is that another?
Bury their dead, eat their dead. Go like an animal. Well, it's a theory, but like an animal, like a dog or a cat. A lot of animals when they go to die, they go to the deepest, darkest place because they know they're going to die, and they don't want to be eaten alive. They don't want to be pestered. They're going to go lay down and die. In the deepest, darkest spots, and over time, man, the forest has no problem. Go jump on YouTube and watch some of how, what time-lapse videos of decaying stuff, apple cores, at bodies, you name it. It's amazing. And that's in a controlled environment. You get out in the woods, stuff's gone in a week. It's nuts.
That's true. So what's your theory on Sasquatch being an ET, using portals to slip in and out? That's why people don't see them.
I'm going to stay out of that one. I've got a pizza that's just about to arrive.
Pizza, my name on. Sure. Stir up
a
a bunch of shit and just leave.
No,
Fine.
I'm serious.
Go eat
I
your
just
pizza.
got a call. I got to go get the pizza. This is, guys, Sasquatch.
DoorDash
we
is out
love
the
you.
door.
We
You got to
love
run,
you.
man, when DoorDash calls. Otherwise,
But-
he just leaves.
I'm telling you, I got a challenge for you. One last thing before I go.
Not
For
drinking
people,
Sasquatch
for the
milk.
1 million people that are listening to this radio show right now, if there's 1 million of you out there,
There's-
there's 2. Well, if there's 10, the 10th person that sends me an email at media@occultjourneys.com will get a free copy of Sasquatch Among Men, the DVD, mailed
Thank
to
you.
them. The 10th.
Enjoy.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Darcy.
Our
I'm so
pleasure,
happy
as
to be
always.
here.
Even if you're a shit disturber, we love you.
Have a great night. Thank
Bye,
you.
honey. Take care.
I
When
love
you talk to
guys.
Gary,
Tina
Gary,
Darcy.
tell him I said groovy.
I will.
Groovy.
Thank
Tell 'em
you.
Groovy, baby.
Groovy, baby.
All right. All right.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Yeah, it is that time too, darn it. So I want you guys to tell whatever you want anybody to know. Promote yourselves, tell everybody how to find you, what you have coming up.
I'll start real quick. This weekend, this upcoming weekend, I'm going to be at Meadowline Falls up in Eastern Washington, speaking at an engagement up there. Now that this, a lot of the pandemic has surpassed us and things are kind of getting back to normal, I'm looking forward to this trip. Having said that, we can find us at olympicproject.com. limitproject.com. You can reach out to any one of us on there. Send us an email if you have an encounter or something of that nature, or have questions. Of course, I do run my own podcast called Monster X Radio.
Ooh.
And you can find me out. I've been doing it since about 2013. So I've been around for a little while doing this podcast, and it's all Sasquatch, and that's it.
I've heard you.
Of course you have.
Yes, I have. I've heard you.
No, I appreciate
It's a great
that. Thank
name.
you.
It's a great name. It's hard to ignore.
It is. But
Yeah,
no,
I love it.
I got this. Appreciate that. I got this podcast to do with my buddy Gunnar Monson and Thomas Seawood, and we just talk Sasquatch. So that's, and you find me, Shane Corson, on Instagram and Facebook and all that good stuff. But definitely check out olympicproject.com. We'll be updating it. It's been a slow process. We've all been really busy, but we'll be updating the website, and check out for, we did do a recent film documentary with Seth Breedlove of Small Town Monsters. It's going to be a full length thing where we actually take these guys out to the nest. The first production company we've taken out to this area ever. And that thing's going to be coming out in November. And I'm really stoked because Seth Breedlove and Small Town Monsters is one of the most honest productions out there. The Limb Project as a whole, as an organization, gets reached out all the time by all the major networks and TV shows. And we usually turn them down because, one, we don't have the time to do it, and we don't care for TV. But most of it's disingenuous, and we've had experiences, and you can learn the hard way. Seth Breedlove and Small Town Monsters, amazing production. They keep it real, and that's all you're going to see. And it's going to be something I'm going to be proud of. I know that, and David Ellis is in the film as well. And so between working with Darcy Weir and Seth Breedlove, I think we have it made. I mean, I'm stoked.
Congratulations. That
I'm not
sounds
being rude,
wonderful.
but while Mr. Darcy's putting out his challenge, we just put out his email. He's like, post the email. I have a
All
feeling.
right, I just set mine. I hope to get a copy.
I think he wants in on that. Okay, I'm going to go post it right now, everybody. Just saying. You beat
Number
Darcy.
10.
You beat Darcy. I got you.
David, what are you
Okay.
up to, and what's coming up for you?
Okay, I'm posting
Well,
it.
Analyzing audio recording is what I love to do. It's a difficult task for most, and it's not really something a lot of people like to do, but I do. So if you are out in the woods and you hear something strange, grab your iPhone, hit record, send me that clip, and you can reach me, contact me, like Shane said, through olympicproject.com. David Ellis. So I'd love to hear what you're hearing out there that you think is suspicious.
That is so cool. I love your job.
Yeah, I love listening to audio recordings. So
David is very humble. He's probably one of the best out there doing, and one of the only ones out there doing this stuff. And he helps people all around the country and outside the country as well. Amazing. So I'm a big fan of Mr. Ellis here. He doesn't get enough kudos for what he does.
No, me too. Thank you for bringing all those clips.
Oh
That was
my
such
gosh.
an amazing experience for us.
I think I
and our
need
audience.
the
Thank you.
ringtone. I really like
Yeah,
that content.
if-
Get rid of my
if you-
Addams Family and use your Sasquatch.
I need it for my meditation.
There you go.
No
What we
kidding.
heard tonight was just the tip of the iceberg. I've got hundreds, maybe thousands.
Well, you
more.
know
Oh,
what?
wow.
Like maybe we can do another segment just based on the research part of everything, and have you guys come back on together
love
as
to do
part of
that.
your organization.
Sure.
I warn you though, we are booking into the end of the year. We book months and months in advance. So
No,
it was nice
well,
that you got squeaked in tonight. Shaw's like, oh, you want
No,
these guys? Yeah, let's do it.
No, we appreciate it. Thanks for
Yeah,
giving
thank
us a
you.
platform. Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you. It's
Our
an
pleasure.
honor.
It was a great show. So thank you for joining us, and we'll be in touch, and we'll get you guys booked up again.
Thank
All right.
you.
All right.
Thank you very
Pleasure.
much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you
Thanks,
much.
guys.
Have a good night,
Thank
guys.
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, we've come to another fabulous end here of the Outer Realm. Boo. Thank you all for tuning in this evening. Thank you to everybody in chat, especially Joe, who's going on about how we bully him. Thank you, Joe. Anyway, thank you, Darcy Weir, you poop disturber. We love you. Shane Corson, David Ellis, and of course, Yes, Joe. Huge thank you to Folgers Coffee. And we do appreciate you, Joe. We love you. You know it. Thank you for basically just doing the whole sound for us tonight. I know you're babysitting us when you do that. So please remember to stop by the International Public Radio, UFO Paranormal Radio. And where's that other one? UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials. Bam. Okay, did it.
You did it, baby.
That's not going to happen again. I'm going to show you.
So remember it.
It's not going to happen. So head on over there, hit subscribe, show us all some love. Head on over to our Facebook page on The Outer Realm and on Instagram. Feel free to drop us a line at The Outer Realm contact@gmail.com. Whether you want to see a guest, a topic, whether you want to be a guest, whether you just have something to say and share, please, Outer Realm Contact, the Outer Realm Contact @gmail.com. Tune in next week, guys, as we come back with Carl Cookson and Hamilton White from the Lost Relics of the Knights Templar. We're going to see what they've got cooked up for us this time. Hopefully more relics. Everybody loved them the last time, so we have that. Thursday night welcomes back Fritz Zimmerman to the Outer Realm, and he will be talking about his ongoing research on giants in North America. So don't forget to find Joe Montaldo and I on the Gray Zone Uncensored this coming Saturday night. Biggest thank you ever to Folgers, always. Until then, Amelia and I bid you a good night and have a great, safe weekend, guys. Y'all behave.